Mike Novogratz, der CEO von Galaxy Digital, über den aktuellen Krypto-Crash, Bitcoin, die Inflation, noch kommende Insolvenzen und vieles mehr. Willkommen zurück bei Think It Crypto. Mein Name ist Sami und fürs heutige Video habe ich mir mal etwas anderes überlegt. Während meinen täglichen Recherchen für diese Videos hier stoße ich auch öfters mal auf super interessante Interviews, zum Beispiel von Analysten, Experten, CEOs von Kryptounternehmen und so weiter. Und auch wenn ich immer mal wieder in meinen regulären Videos kleine Clips von solchen Interviews einblende, ist das nur sehr komprimiert und was ich mir gedacht habe, weil es heute nicht so viele spannende News zu erzählen gibt, ist es vielleicht für euch spannend, auch mal einen längeren Teil solch eines Interviews zu sehen. Und deshalb heute einfach mal ein Testvideo für genau das. Was ich gemacht habe, ist, ich habe aus einem Bloomberg-Video, was etwas mehr als 3 Stunden ging, die wichtigsten Stellen von Mike Novogratz zusammengeschnitten, diese dann auch ins Deutsche übersetzt und auch deutsche Untertitel hinzugefügt und das Ganze dann auch noch mit verschiedenen Videos und Bildern aufgepeppt. Und wenn euch so etwas gefällt, beziehungsweise ihr denkt, dass ihr da einen Mehrwert draus ziehen könnt, schreibt es mir bitte in die Kommentare, denn ich habe mir überlegt, für genau solche Videos, also zusammengeschnittene interessante Krypto-Interviews, einen Zweitkanal zu öffnen. Den Link dazu findet ihr auch schon unten in meiner Videobeschreibung. Und wenn euch das Ganze heute so gefällt, lasst mir dort auch gerne noch ein Abo da, damit ich einschätzen kann, wie viele Leute sich überhaupt für so etwas interessieren und es sich auch lohnt für mich, den Aufwand zu machen, die ganzen Interviews rauszusuchen, das Ganze ins Deutsche zu übersetzen und dann auch noch zu schneiden. Wie immer, gerne auch noch mit dem obersten Link in meiner Beschreibung bei der Krypto-Exchange BITVAVO anmelden und dort von einer billigen, super intuitiven und vor allem extrem sicheren Kryptobörse profitieren. Jetzt aber viel Spaß mit Mike Novogratz über den Crash, den Zusammenbruch der großen Lending-Plattform, wie er denkt, dass das Ganze weitergehen wird, wie die Fed in Zukunft handeln wird und vieles mehr.
Yeah, listen, I think Luna was the first kind of part of this crisis, and it started a daisy chain of events. And if there's a lesson learned, was that the industry, plenty of retail investors, really had very, very little concept of risk management. And listen, what was interesting about Luna was it was very transparent, right? It was all public, it was all on the blockchain. People knew if they paid attention the bet they were making. The bet turned out not to work, and it unraveled very quickly. What I don't think people expected was the magnitude of losses that would show up in professional institutions' balance sheets. And that caused a daisy chain of effects. Companies like Celsius and Three Arrows and Genesis and blockchain.com and you name it, they're all this is all public information now, had exposure. And then the Three Arrows situation, which we'll see, if it was legitimate or if there was fraud involved, really started that flywheel of credit losses, and it turned into a full-fledged credit crisis, right, with complete liquidation and huge damage to confidence in the space, into the infrastructure of the space. 3, 4, 5, 6 big institutions either declaring Chapter 11 or de facto doing the same thing by putting up gates and stopping retail deposits from leaving. I would stay with talking to industry groups. I was like, we need to self-regulate or the regulators are coming. And when you look back, there was very little self-regulation. There was inane risk management where companies took massive leverage, took asset liability mismatch, which means they had short-term deposits and they lent them out long. I mean, those are the 2 ways people always go bankrupt. This is a tale as old as time. And it happened in lots of ways. That's greed, that's ignorance. It's frustrating as heck because, at times the whole industry looks like a bunch of idiots. What's really interesting is the DeFi stuff, the on-chain stuff, worked like it was supposed to work. It was transparent, right? People got stopped out when they were supposed to be getting stopped out. There's no, oh, he lied to me. I can't believe that. I didn't know the rules, right? It was all on chain. And so in lots of ways, as ironic as this sounds, this crisis is somewhat an advertisement for more transparency and more DeFi. And I think what you saw was a cascading of stops. And so the margin losses all got hit in that move, literally from 29,000 to 17 or 18,000, whatever the low was, all at once. And I had hoped this year, 28, 30 would be the low. And I was darn wrong, because I didn't realize the magnitude of the leverage in the system. So we had that deleveraging really fast. And after that, what you're seeing was asset disposals. And so once you deleverage, you still have, if you're a company that's gone bankrupt, you owe your creditors back the money. So if you have a pile of stuff, it needs to get sold. And so you saw a lot of that in the last couple of weeks. A couple of the big credit funds were just selling their wrapped Bitcoin, selling their ETH, selling their liquid stuff. I think lots of hedge funds are out of business and they don't know it yet. Once the redemption notices come in, people are like, you've lost 60% of my money, give me back the 40 cents. Right? I think there were 1,400 hedge funds in the space. That's up from 400 2 years ago. It won't surprise me if that number heads back to where it used to be. And so that weighed on the market and will continue to weigh on the market some as, asset sales happen. But I think the worst happened. And now we're rebuilding. We've had a couple good days in a row. There's a good story with Ethereum and the merge. The global macro markets are at max bearishness, right? Like the Bank of America put out a piece today that said they haven't seen equity bearishness like this since October of 2008. And so you might see a respite here for a while, though we won't get a sustainable next leg of the crypto bull market until a little bit more of this damage is healed and a new narrative emerges. When you hit max fear, that normally is a bottom. I'm not saying 100% we had the bottom, but it feels like that was a pretty good shot at it. And so you can go for long periods of time where you have ranges. You go up a little on enthusiasm and someone has to sell it. And, that selling's not forced selling right now. And so we had the forced selling, that's the most pain. There's no more forced selling, there's no leverage in the system. And so I don't think you'll see a lot of forced selling. And people aren't gonna give up on crypto. But you have to remember, crypto comes from a belief that the traditional institutions are less trusted, right? Our central banks aren't responsible, that our politicians are moving to becoming populist and spending money they don't have. If you look around the world, and if you look around the US, trust is at an all-time low. And so to think all of a sudden trust is healed and we're all gonna be good is insane. The Fed has a brutally difficult job. We had 9.1% inflation headline last month. We see the economy slowing dramatically. The Fed funds curve is saying, well, they're gonna hike 2.5, 3 more times, and then they're gonna cut 75 basis points. That's a wacky shaped curve. Jay Powell has a really tough job, right? He needs to kill inflation expectations and bring inflation back heading lower, but pretty soon people are gonna be screaming recession. And will he be able to land that plane? Maybe, but I think the markets will bet he's gonna flinch. He's gonna have to stop hiking rates before inflation really gets cemented. And then if they have to cut, you're gonna see inflation take back off. And so the macro case for crypto is still there.